Good evening and welcome to the March 19th council meeting. If you'd please stand, Councilman Hargrove is going to lead us in the flag salute this evening.
Place the right hand over their heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Okay, our ceremonial this evening is recognition of Chino's Teen Advisory Committee. The Teen Advisory Committee, or TAC, is comprised of Chino residents who are students in the Chino Valley Unified School District. I want to recognize what a great bunch of students we have this year. This year, TAC members organized a 2-month-long coat drive. Chino, Don Lugo, Chino Hills, and Ayala High Schools participated and worked together to collect jackets. At the end of the drive, the TAC members collected 65 jackets. They're not stopping there. The group is starting another project called Socks for Seniors. At such a young age, you are all model citizens and an inspiration to us all. I'm going to call your names. If you'd please come up to be recognized. I understand that you've already received plaques from the commission. There are a few members who are not here. I will call their names at the last just to make sure we recognize them. Michelle Cruz. She's the chairperson. Oh. Look, what did you do to your knee?
I got hurt at practice.
Which practice?
Track.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's going to make it hard to run. Andrea Moss, secretary. Congratulations. Natalie Batras, member. Natalie, congratulations. Brandon Castro. Okay. You're supposed to have a firm handshake but not break the mayor's hand. Elizabeth Cazares. Congratulations. Alexei Magallanes. I hope I pronounced that right. Congratulations. And Brandon Shee. Easy, Brandon, easy. Congratulations. Okay, those that were not able to be here this evening is Alexa Montenegro. She was is the vice chairman. Adrian Escueda and Yahira Herrera. Is that right? Yahira, okay, and Alexander Ramos. So let's give them a hand also. Sure. Okay. This way. Would you like to say a few words about it? Put her on the spot.
Yeah, so the jacket drive that we had during November and throughout December was actually brought up to us by Andrea Moss. Would you like to incorporate how you thought of that?
Well, we found out that the care closet needed jackets, so that's when we decided to do a jacket drive because it's something that not many people think that they need. So there's a picture. We sorted jackets. And then we also, we had a snack bar to raise money for Socks for Seniors. And how many pairs of socks? Like 112 pairs of socks for the seniors. So.
Well, I want to congratulate you all. You're fine examples of our young leadership in our community, and thank you for coming this evening. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see, Socks for Seniors. Almost everyone up here qualifies. Okay, we never have enough socks. Absolutely. Okay, next we have a special presentation from Inland Empire's Inland Empire Utilities Agency by IEUA Director Steve Eli. Steve?
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate the opportunity to come before you tonight and the rest of the council. Good to see you all and the public in Chino. Want to talk tonight about an exciting program that's going on in our region that IUA is taking the lead on, but we are partnering with the cities, especially the city of Chino and others. It's going to be a game changer for the region if we can all pull it off together. Through smart planning and thoughtful investments and significant outside funding, we can plan to meet our current and future water supply needs. Real quickly at a glance, before I get into the program itself, IEUA serves 875,000 residents, and I represent Chino and the neighboring city that has a similar name. But it's a little
Chino's
newer.
Hills.
Something with the hills, yeah. So I represent both cities, and that's my entire district, approximately 160,000 people, give or take. Our area, IUA was established in 1950. We're all publicly elected, all in San Bernardino County, cover 242 square miles. We overlay the Chino Basin, which most of you are familiar with, and I just learned this new statistic. It is the largest groundwater storage basin in Southern California, the Chino Basin. Contains more water than Shasta or Oroville reservoirs, and is approximately equal to 60 Big Bear lakes. So that's new, that was news to me recently. Briefly, IEUA, our bread and butter for those 875,000 people in the region. We started as a supplemental water producer in 1950, and were asked in the 1970s with the Clean Water Act to take over wastewater management because regional authorities are the only ones who are able to get money under the Clean Water Act. We have world's largest indoor composter that we share with LA County Sand. We do your wastewater treatment. We're the wholesaler of water. We obviously recharge groundwater. We have renewable energy, 3.5 megawatts of solar, for example, at our plants. Because one of the biggest expense that IEUA and any other water agency has, aside from people, is energy. So we have renewable energy, and we also have the Tesla batteries to store the energy and use it when it's most needed at the right times to keep our costs even and level. Recycle water and water use efficiency as well. So recently, we've been involved especially with significant regional planning with our partner member agencies on how to address water quality and supply needs that are changing. The region, together, we've invested about $500 million on recycled water, which is about $300 million, the Chino desalter, which Chino is a major member of, for $150 million, and many other significant projects. We have expanded our local water portfolio to achieve 25% increase in local supplies, which is recycled water reuse and stormwater, and then 100% of the state water use efficiency targets. During the drought, our region, the city included, did incredible of meeting the targets that were set. And so we're very proud of that, and we're considered a leader. And one of the reasons is because we regionally collaborate. We don't always agree, right? But we definitely work for the greater common good for our mutual constituents. Over the last 20 years, there's been about a 30% increase in regional growth and about a 20% increase in urban water demand. Having said that, the use hasn't gone up that much. It hasn't gone up 20% because of all the other programs that you and we are all doing. So while the urban water demand has increased, obviously the ag demand has significantly decreased. With climate change, we're going to see longer and more frequent drought conditions. We're going to have years like we have this year, but let's think back 5 years ago, we were in the heat of the major drought. So we've got to work towards a way to get consistency so we can meet the demands and serve the people. We want to obviously also protect our local supplies and strategically purchase and make use of external and variable supplies. Regionally, we have a challenge, just like every other part of Southern California. The regions collaborated and worked together, right, and developed long-term planning documents, which, it's going too fast for me. The Integrated Water Resources Plan was done together with our partners to set up what are the challenges and how do we address them. So in light of drinking water regulatory changes, I know you're familiar with 123 TCP, and obviously nitrates, we all deal with that. And we have lots of drinking water challenges. So we are really working towards having a reliable, protected source of water consistent in our region for now and for the future, for these teens and those like them in our region. We applied in 2014, the voters passed Proposition 1. Part of that water bond, $2.7 billion, was set aside for conjunctive use or other projects where basically the whole state could benefit. And we applied on behalf of the region, and we were granted a $207 million award towards a $385 million project. Now, the $385 million project is an estimate, but the projects in there came from the member agencies. They came from our partners in how we can enhance the region. It's going to be refined. We're letting contracts for preliminary design report probably tomorrow, assuming that the rest of the board agrees tomorrow. But that $207 million award was hard fought. We actually, we were 0.1% short of getting to the next level where we'd be fully funded for the amount that we were eligible. And it was a 4-3 vote in our favor to move up 0.1% so we could be fully funded for the $207 million, which is 54% of the capital towards all of the projects. The Chino Basin.
Steve,
Sorry,
to
yeah.
interrupt you, so right now
course.
your staff is going through and prioritizing projects, correct?
Our staff and consultants are working with everybody to figure out which projects people really want to do. Because, you know, obviously when you start a program, things can change. So what do people really want? What's the cost of that? Does it fit the goals of the whole project? And so the answer is we're all prioritizing, and there's gonna be lots of meetings. You know, I was at Chino Hills Council last week. I'm here this week, and the other board members are going out. We're going out because this is a multifaceted program, and we've got to come up with agreements within the region as well as the state water contractors, Metropolitan Water District, et cetera. So we're moving everything at the same time. And so it's all moving at the same time. So the financial analysis has been ongoing. We'll let the contract for the preliminary design report. That's really where there's going to be some refinement on what's going to happen or what could happen. And, you know, it all has to mesh together like a jigsaw puzzle. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
Okay. To do now with the funding, what we're going, so a lot of the projects that have been identified are things for the Chino Basin program are things that either cities like Chino and others wanted to do or are going to have to do anyway for the optimum basin management plan for the water master or other things. So what we're really trying to do is, in addition to trying to identify other sources of money to fill the gap from the other 46%, is also really try to get win-wins. So get programs that we're going to have to do, we need to do for our constituents, and make those part of the program and try and find some other sources of funding. You know, we met with Supervisor Hagman to see if the county can help identify other sources of funding. So the $207 million gives us some security because it saves the region that much money, assuming we can pull it off with the other projects. At least 15,000 acre-feet of advanced treated recycled water, because one of the things that the program will hopefully do is make more water within the Chino Basin available, because we've got water quality issues, we've got contamination issues. Also, it will help, part of the deal with the state to get the money is that there'll be some help to help with flows at the Bell Delta to help the salmon. And most significantly, we're going to try and reduce salinity because of the historical farming and other practices. The salinity in the groundwater is significant. That's why you have the desalter. That's why we can't take Colorado River water, because it has too much salt in it. So the schedule, you know, and I realize there's a lot of numbers and things that I'm throwing at you. Certainly, I'd meet with any of you again separately, and if the public has questions, you know, we'll start doing more stuff as the project gets more refined. But we're working on collaboration right now with stakeholders. We have a deadline to secure the $207 million by summer of 2021. It sounds like a long time, but it's really not, because we have to get all those agreements and get it all set, and then get approval, from the California Water Commission for the plan. and then hopefully operational in 2026. Some of the programs were probably going to be done in 2030, 2035. The idea is to bring these forward a little bit sooner. And I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize and thank your staff, from Matt to Dave Crosley and Amanda Coker, who I think are in the back. And you know, they're wonderful to work with. In fact, Amanda's volunteered time to work on interviewing people for the job, and so it's for the contract that's going to go before my board tomorrow. So we appreciate that. We appreciate all of you working with us in we're going to try and leverage this $207 million in outside funding through partnerships, proactively securing water for our future. The reality is, without a big water idea and new ways of managing, what we did in the past just won't be good enough. And so we really think that this program is going to help us shape our future for the region. It is out of the box. It requires a lot of heavy lifting from a lot of different people. But we think if everybody works together, this innovative and ambitious project can be transformative for our region and really help us. So I'm happy to answer any additional questions. Appreciate you giving me the opportunity to present this to the city and to the council.
Well, I want to thank you for being here this evening. Of course, you and I both are very, very involved in the water world, so we know how critical this is, and that this $207 million is a golden opportunity to try to do what we can for our region to ensure that we have water supply and water quality. So I want to thank you for being here. Tom?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Great to see you come out, a chance for you for our residents to see you and learn a little bit about the Inland Empire Utilities Agency. And at a meeting, I guess water-wise, that the state now, I heard today, was at 93% capacity. So pretty much the drought is almost over, but we know how quickly a drought can come back.
For this year.
So just because our reservoirs are filling up and we have a lot of water this year doesn't mean that you shouldn't be thinking about conserving and using water wisely.
Absolutely.
That's the key.
And the other thing to remember too is the Colorado is not rebounding.
Right.
Colorado River. And now while we in this area don't get it, that's a big part of their supply. And, you know, so there's no reason to waste it. And we're doing everything we can to capture what we can with all this rain. But, you know, just last year we were in a drought, right? And the year before that we had a good rain. And the
Right.
5 to 7 years before that, it was horrible.
Right.
And that's one of the things, you know, with this program, we're really trying to even it out a little bit, you know, to try and make it better. So I appreciate those comments.
You
That's
bet.
really helpful. And
You're welcome.
Mayor, I do appreciate the partnership that we have. So
You're welcome, Steve. Thank you very much for
Okay.
coming.
thanks. All right, thank you.
Terrific. See you Thursday. Okay, I'd like to ask our attorney to report out of closed session that we held prior to the meeting and that we will be actually, we're going to be going back into closed session at the end of the meeting, so.
Yes, and that stole some of my thunder. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council and audience. The City Council has commenced its discussions on the sole item referenced in the closed session agenda, conference with labor negotiators concerning the various employee organizations that I had announced before recessing into closed session. The council has not concluded those discussions, so it would be appropriate to withhold the report until after the council concludes its discussions following the closed session, the open session.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Are there any additions or revisions to the agenda this evening?
I have no changes, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. There is an informational item in the packet. I encourage you all to access that online. It's our Economic Development Report for February 2019. It's always very interesting. Under public announcements, first, this is one last reminder that the Pitch, Hit, and Run is happening this Saturday, March 23rd at Ayala Park from 11 to 3. This event will give participants the chance to display their baseball and softball abilities with the opportunity to advance through 4 levels to compete in the national finals at the 2019 Major League Baseball All-Star Game in Cleveland, Ohio. For more information, please contact the Neighborhood Activity Center at 909-334-3260. Also, with our local schools out of session for spring break next week, I would like all parents to be aware of the city's spring break camp starting March 25th and ending March 29th at the Carolyn Owens Community Center, which is located at 132001 Central Avenue. This camp will provide a safe and fun environment for all students in grades 1 through 8 from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. There is a weekly and daily camp fee for an extra $10 fee for those residing outside of the city of Chino. For parents with more than one child, the cost per one additional child to attend will decrease by $7. For more information, please contact again the Carolyn Owens Community Center at 909-334-3258. And lastly, sadly, we will be adjourning tonight's meeting in the memory of former Chino Hills Council member Bill Kruger, who passed away on February 26th. A committed volunteer, Mr. Kruger received the Chino Valley Outstanding Citizen Award for 2005 and the LA County Fair's Community Hero in 2006. Additionally, as a former Marine, Bill and his wife Janet started the Chino Valley Young Marines program, which helped many youth in the Chino Valley, particularly those that came from troubled families. In 2000, Bill was elected to the Chino Hills City Council and was subsequently re-elected in 2002, 2006, and 2010. In total, he served 12 years on the Chino Hills City Council. During his entire life, Bill dedicated himself to public service. This stemmed from serving as an elected official all the way up to adopting roads and trails in Chino Hills for litter pickup. A celebration of life is scheduled for Sunday, March 24th from noon to 3 at the Chino Hills Community Center, which is located at 14250 Peyton Drive in Chino Hills. Bill will be deeply missed by the entire Chino Valley community. He was a wonderful, wonderful man and very dedicated to his community. Okay, next on the agenda is public communications. This is the time and the place for the general public to address the council about items that are not elsewhere on the agenda. We'll be glad to hear your concerns, but we can't take action on anything that's not agendized. Our first written request to speak is from Mr. Roy Robbins, actually the pastor of Christ Lutheran Church. I'd like to invite anyone who would like to join us to please stand for the invocation.
Thank you. Good evening. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a city and nurture the bonds of community in Chino and beyond. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions that affect the city. Continue to remind us that all we do here today and all that we accomplish is for the pursuit of truth and for the greater glory of you in the service of humanity. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Pastor Robbins. Okay. Second written request to speak is Mr. Zeb Wellborn from the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce. Zeb?
Good evening. My name is Zeb Wellborn. I'm the executive director of the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce. To start off, I'd like to say thank you to our Chino PD, Chino Valley Fire, and the Chino Hills Police Department for giving us the opportunity to honor those that protect us at our Salute to Public Safety, which is on March 14th. So thank you, Chief Comstock, and those other agencies as well for giving us the opportunity to do that. The next thing I wanted to bring up was our Taste of the Chino Valley, which is the next event we have coming up. It's on April 8th. It's going to be at the Chaffee Community Center right next to Ayala Park. We typically have between 20 and 24 restaurants that participate, so it gives those citizens across Chino and Chino Hills the opportunity to come in, taste food from across the Chino Valley, and get an experience for that. So here's the restaurants that we have signed up currently. We have Canateros. We have Mi Ranchito Restaurant. We have the Flinders Street Cafe, Riverside Grill, Okie Pokey, the pub at Chino Hills, Lucille's Smokehouse Barbecue, Nothing But Cakes, Mariscos El Güero, Lario's Market, Ding Tea, Nectar Juice Bar, and the Los Angeles International Wine Company. So we have a lot of different things that will be going on April 8th. So I hope that you guys will make an opportunity to come out there and attend, and same for our guests here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deb. Okay, we have a tradition here at Chino, and that is we have students in the audience that are here as a requirement of their classes. So we invite you to come up, give us the name of your school, your name, of course, the name of your school, your teacher, and the class that you're taking. Now, keep in mind, these kids are required to be here for class credit, and of course, they wait till the last minute, so there's quite a few here this evening. You want to line up, please?
They prep, they open the back door, so
Well, it's warm.
yeah, I know it is.
No, you have to come up to the lectern. You have to have proof. You have to be on TV for your teacher. Okay.
Andrew Lopez, Don Antonio Lugo High School, Mr. Pope's government class.
Thank you.
How you guys doing?
We're fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
My name's Dylan Garman, Don Lugo, Mr. Pope's U.S. government class.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Hannah from Don Lugo, and I take U.S. government from Mr. Pope. Excuse me. Sorry.
Thank you.
Hi, Jose Ramirez from Don Antonio Lugo, taking U.S. government, Mr. Pope's.
Okay.
I'm Ivan from Don Antonio Lugo High School, and I'm from Mr. Pope's class in government.
I'm Isaac Romero, and I'm here for Pope's class for government.
In school,
Don Lugo.
look up. Very good. Mr. Shy.
I'm Kellen Mendez. I go to Don Antonio Lugo, and I'm here for Mr. Pope's U.S. government class.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dylan Manos. I'm from Don Lugo High School, and I'm Mr. Pope's government class.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Raymond Segura, and I'm here for Mr. Pope's government class at Don Lugo.
Great.
Hello, I'm Dahlia Wesso. I'm from Don Antonio Lugo and Mr. Pope's government class.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Savannah Avalos. I go to Don Lugo and sorry, I take U.S. government with Mr. Pope.
Thank you.
I'm Chris Salazar. I am as well from Don Lugo and Mr. Pope's government class.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Mike Cardiesco. I go to Upland High School. I'm here for Mr. Carrasco government class.
Upland High School. Very interesting.
Hello, I'm Jake Swartz. I'm from Don Lugo, and I'm here for Mr. Pope's U.S. government.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Lenise, and I'm also from Don Lugo, and I'm here from Mr. Pope's class.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jesus. I'm from Don Antonio Lugo, and I'm here for Mr. Pope's class for Don Antonio Lugo.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Angie. I'm from Don Antonio Lugo. I'm here for government for Mr. Pope.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Edgar. I'm from Don Antonio Lugo. I'm from Mr. Pope's class, U.S. government.
Okay, thank you all for being here this evening. Now, is there anyone else in the audience who would like to address the council? Those are the only students that I know of that are here, and we only had 2 written requests to speak. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Destiny Hernandez, and I am the Teen Center Specialist over at the Monte Vista Park. I do have one event that I would like to discuss, and we have a bunch of teens here, so it's perfect. We're hosting our first teen night glow-in-the-dark Easter egg hunt. It's going to be held on April 12th from 6:30 to 9:30. It's free to all the teens that participate and come. So to come, you want to bring your school ID to verify that's from 7th to 12th graders. And the first 100 will receive free Chick-fil-A, so that's always a plus. Yeah. So April 12th, 6:30.
Now, what's a glow-in-the-dark Easter egg hunt?
So we are going to be having it, I believe it's at Ayala Park, and it's going to be like all the lights are going to be turned off. And we have Easter eggs that are actually glow in the dark, so be a first fun Easter egg event that we're having at Chino.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. Do any members wish to have items pulled, or any member from the audience?
Yeah.
Yes, Tom?
I'd like to pull item 14. Could you do that?
Okay. Then I would ask for a motion on the balance of the consent calendar. Okay, there's a motion from Councilman Hargrove, second from Councilman Lucio. Please vote.
Okay, here we go again. Mine's not working.
It's not working. Okay, we need roll call vote.
Councilmember Hargrove,
Yes.
Councilmember Lucio,
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howie,
Yes.
Mayor Uloa.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, item number 14 has been pulled, I'm assuming for information. Would you like a staff report?
Yeah, if city manager wouldn't mind doing it now.
Okay.
I know you're going to do it later in his report, but go ahead, you make the report, I just want to
Absolutely.
comment afterward.
So Councilmember Howie, or I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Howie,
Same difference.
had asked this item be pulled. As you're aware, we had some significant rainstorms, and ironically, we're going to have...
Excuse me, Matt, first I failed to do it. We probably should tell him what the item is.
Right. So the item for item number 14 is accepting the final improvements that were made at Kimball Avenue near Euclid. Just as a matter of background, we've had many storms, which has compromised portions of Kimball Avenue. We receive a lot of the waters up in the foothills, and they come down and they all funnel down to the Prado basin. We also receive a lot of runoff from the airport that goes over the top of Kimball Avenue, and then it goes to a basin just to the south. So the natural flow is from the north down to the south. The council gave direction to staff to, we called this an emergency, went out and got 3 proposals. And essentially what we did is we placed 3 drains on the north side of the street, and then they convey underneath Kimball Avenue so that they can pass south. So we have a rain tomorrow. We're expecting tomorrow night and Thursday, and so all this work will be tested. The cost of all these improvements was just under $130,000. We did do some additional, because we saw some significant potholing. So we did use a portion of our contingency to overlay a larger portion of that street. And not only have, I think it's going to resolve this on a temporary basis, but we're also having discussions with San Bernardino County staff. In fact, we had a conference call today, and they're going to have surveyors out there shortly, and they're going to be working on during the permanent improvements. So I think council's action has actually prompted the county to go ahead and move forward with a permanent storm drain that again will convey the water from the airport underneath Kimball Avenue and out to the southern part. So all the work has been complete, and if you want to see the fruits of all the work that the Public Works Department has done, certainly go out and take a look at Kimball. It's just basically between the fire station out there and McBride's storage. RV storage.
Yeah, and basically I pulled this item because I just want to congratulate our Public Works Department for the expediency of doing this whole project. They did the whole project in less than 10 days. That's putting the storm drains in and getting it repaved and opened. And for all the years, Unison, we've been here, that is extremely fantastic, because we never see usually things in that kind of speed.
And there's a picture.
And the picture, you can see the picture up there. So hats off to Public Works, and thank you for a job well done. That's all.
Absolutely. Any other comments from council members on this issue? Okay, then I would entertain a motion.
See if it works.
See if it works. No, just go ahead and verbally. It's not working. Yeah.
Make a motion.
Okay, there's a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Howie,
I second it.
second from Councilman Lucio. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Howie,
Yes.
Councilmember Lucio,
Yes.
Councilmember Hargrove,
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mayor Uloa.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That was item number 14. Okay, under new business, item number 15, award of contract, Police Department Real-Time Crime Center Video Wall System Project, PF 191. This is to award a contract in the amount of $153,682.50 to Western AV Orange, California for the Police Department Real-Time Crime Center Video Wall System Project. Staff report this evening will be provided by Carolyn Baltzer, our project manager.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. The current fiscal year budget provides funding for construction of the Real-Time Crime Center at the Police Department. The project will consist of purchasing and installing a video wall, electrical improvements, HVAC, general construction, and furniture. The purpose of the Real-Time Crime Center is to provide the police department a central location used for viewing and collecting information from security cameras throughout the city, automatic license plate readers, automatic vehicle locators, manned and unmanned aircraft, real-time crime data from the police department's CAD RMS system, as well as analytical and intelligence software. Trained personnel will share the data in real time to responding units to positively affect the outcome of field incidents. For your consideration tonight is the purchase and installation of the video wall. A notice inviting bids was published in the Chino Champion and on Planet Bids. On February 21st, 2019, 4 bids were received electronically. The lowest bid was submitted by Western AV of Orange, California, in the amount of $153,682.50. Staff reviewed the contractor's license, bonds, and references and have determined them to be the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. At this time, staff is requesting City Council's approval to award a contract in the amount of $153,682.50 to Western AV of Orange, California for the Real-Time Crime Center video wall system and authorize expenditures of up to $15,368.25 for project contingencies. The City Attorney's Office has reviewed all the documents and found them to be in order. This concludes my report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you very much. Carolyn, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on this issue? Okay, seeing none, council comments?
So this video wall would also monitor where the cars are and our personnel?
Yes, they will.
Any other questions?
No, I just want to make sure, besides it, keeping real-time crime stats so that in case something happens to one of our officers, we'll be able to identify where they were last located.
Yes, it will.
Excellent point. Okay. Then if there's no objection to this item, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
It's been motioned by Mayor Pro Tem Howie.
Second.
Second from Councilman Lucio. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Howie?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucio?
Yes.
Councilmember Hargrove?
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mayor Ulloa?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, item number 16 is fiscal year 2018-19 mid-year financial review. This item is to receive and file the financial review status report and consider amendments to adopted budget appropriations and expected revenues, and consider contract amendments and purchase order increases. Staff report this evening will be from our Director of Public Finance, Rob Burns.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Tonight I bring before you the mid-year 2018-19 financial review. This year's financial review covers the current fiscal year through the end of February 2019 and includes all areas of operations with an emphasis on the city's general fund. Finance staff met with each department to review and analyze both operating revenues and expenditures in order to evaluate and identify potential changes to the 18-19 adopted budget. Staff's reviewed the city's revenue sources, looking closely at sales tax, property tax, and development-related revenue. Sales tax is currently anticipated to be $2.9 million over the established budget for a total of $28.6 million. However, $1.4 million of that is for one-time use tax received from equipment that's been installed in a local industrial building. So that won't continue on. Property tax revenue is anticipated to be over budget by $1.7 million. The majority of this is $900,000 from the RDA elimination process. So that's good news. So that's a total of $4.6 million over budget so far. So if you'd like to, we can just adjourn the meeting right now and stay in the good day.
Good heavens.
But seeing none, we'll go on, and I do have to report that development revenue is anticipated to be $3.6 million under budget. This is mostly due to the fact that on July 1st of last year, the DIF fees were increasing, and so developers rushed to pay their fees before that increase took effect. If we look at it over a 2-year basis, we're really right on budget because last year revenues for development related were over by $3.2 million. This year they're under by 3.6. So we're good overall. So those total revenues will bring us about $1 million over budget for this current fiscal year.
Now, when you say over budget, can you clarify that for the public?
Well, more than we had anticipated.
In revenue?
In revenue,
Okay.
yes.
So when you say over budget, it means we really are in the good?
Yes, that
Okay.
portion of it is in the good. That's correct, sorry. Now, when we move into expenditures, we've also looked at items that need adjustment in the 2018-19 budget. And so there's a complete list of those items in your staff report, but I'm just going to mention a few here. For the general fund, we're asking for $70,000 of additional inspection services with KOA and $40,000 with TKE for project management services. For the water fund, we're asking for an additional $600,000 for water purchases from WFA due to a well site being down during the year. Finally, for the transportation fund, staff is requesting an additional $210,000 for design services with IDS Group and $68,000 with CT&T for additional concrete work. And that concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Any questions of staff or comments from council members? Okay, then who wants to make the motion? Shrug. You're tired.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, there's a motion from Councilman Hargrove,
I'll second.
second from Councilman Lucio. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Hargrove?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucio?
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howie?
Yes.
Mayor Ulloa?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Next on the agenda is mayor and council reports, and I'll apologize right away because mine is rather lengthy this time, but I'll try to talk quickly. On Wednesday, March 6th, I attended the Omnitrans Board of Directors meeting. At the end of 2018, California Air Resources Board, or CARB, approved the first of its kind regulation in the United States requiring public transit agencies to gradually transition to 100% zero-emission bus fleets by the year 2040. Starting in 2029, transit agencies in California will only be allowed to buy buses that are fully electric under the rule adopted by CARB. Omnitrans has already invested in transitioning their fleet to natural gas and installing fueling stations to support those vehicles, so now is grappling with another massive budget impact. The board was presented with proposed rollout plan to meet the mandate. There was also a discussion regarding assumptions for the upcoming 2019-20 budget. That same day, I attended the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority Board of Directors. One of the items was to approve the local pass-through compliance audits for 2017-18, and I'm glad to report that Chino is in full compliance and had no audit findings. The Development Mitigation Annual Report for fiscal year ending June 2018 was received and filed. And for that, each year, SBCTA is required to provide financial audits of all jurisdictions' expenditures receiving Measure I local pass-through funds. And again, the City of Chino is in full compliance. Measure I Valley Major Street Arterial Subprogram allocations planning for FY 19-20 for an allocation of $20 million was approved, with Chino's portion being approximately $1.6 million. And there were many items involving transportation projects for the mountain desert area that don't affect us directly, but is part of the agenda. There was an item dealing with hearings to consider resolutions of necessity for property interests for the I-10 corridor project through Montclair, Ontario, and Upland for the toll lane that will be built on the I-10. And item number 40 was added to the agenda to review the Southern California Association of Governments, or SCAG, Regional Council District Evaluation Project, or process. Every 5 years, the bylaws of SCAG require that the composition of each district be reviewed for geographic community of interest and population. There are currently 69 regional council districts. We're in District 10, along with Chino Hills and Ontario. The 2018 population of the three communities in 2018 was 347,505, with a population projection of 453,103 by 2035. The total Southern California region is projected to grow from over 17 million in 2018 to over 19 million in 2035. Another item that was added dealt with with taking a $221 million loan against future proceeds of Measure I. My objection was that it permanently tied up some of the available Measure I funds as a guarantee that the loan would be repaid, which would make those taxpayer-approved funds unavailable for transportation projects during that time. On Thursday, the 7th, I was invited to visit Chino High School, where David Dasani and Chick-fil-A honored Coach Mike Hinkle and his leadership team by feeding the entire school and staff, which was approximately 2,000 meals. Absolutely phenomenal. And then I attended the IEUA Sewage Policy Committee, which reviewed budget issues. Saturday the 9th, myself and Councilman Mark Hargrove attended the opening ceremonies of the Chino Youth Track Meet at Chino High School, where I gave the opening remarks. Then we rushed over to Heritage Park, where Mayor Pro Tem Tom Howie, Councilman Mark Hargrove, City Manager Matt Ballantyne, and I attended the opening ceremonies of Chino National Softball League, Little League. Then that afternoon, Councilman Hargrove, City Manager Matt Ballantyne, and I attended the American Little League opening ceremonies. That was a busy Saturday. Wednesday, the 13th, Watermaster Prado Habitat Sustainability Committee meeting was held, where we reviewed yearly data and budget for the upcoming year. The purpose of this project is to ensure that there is sufficient groundwater available to support the habitat in the Prado Basin, since the groundwater basin is used to support the majority of water usage in the greater part of the western portion of San Bernardino County and part of LA County. Thursday the 14th, I went to the Watermaster Appropriative Pool meeting, and then I missed the Salute to Public Safety, which I really was sad about, but had to attend an Omnitrans Board of Directors workshop that afternoon, covering future budgetary shortfalls and how to meet future needs under changing ridership patterns, future technology, future usage of autonomous vehicles, and current and future state and federal mandated public transportation requirements. Then on the 15th, met with Zeb Wellborn, Executive Director of the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce, to discuss his future view of the Chamber and how to improve their services to the community. We also talked about the Chamber's involvement in a future leadership workshop with local elected officials and business leaders. Then that entire afternoon, I attended the Watermaster Court hearing in San Bernardino in front of Judge Reichert. All parties to the judgment and peace agreements were in attendance, along with their attorneys. One side note, the judge made a note that there were probably the best minds in California with water in that hearing, which was interesting. There were several business items. The simplest was the court's acceptance of the Watermaster annual report. The other items were very complex, with the judge modifying his ruling several times. I don't believe that any party there was completely happy with his ruling, so we'll see now how the details all flesh out once his rulings are put in writing and analyzed. So more to come. As the old saying goes, whiskey is for drinking and water is for fighting. And then today, I did a camera shot for the Wyland National Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation, which runs from April 1st to the 30th. This is an annual month-long campaign to promote drought resiliency and water quality, with mayors from 38 states vying to see whose city could be the nation's most water-wise. You'll begin to see information requesting that you commit to the challenge and sign the pledge. Participants in the winning cities are eligible to win hundreds of prizes, and a charity within our city could possibly win a new Toyota hybrid. Chino's always been very involved in wonderful causes, and so we're hoping to be the winning city in our population category. So starting April 1st, please watch for the Wyland Challenge for Water Conservation and sign up and take the pledge. And then last night, this is not city-related, but kind of, I attended the viewing of a wonderful gal named Presley Tennant, who was on The Voice last night. She got a chair turn from Kelly Clarkson, so she's now going to be in the competition. Hopefully she makes it all the way through to the public voting. Presley has sung the national anthem and been involved in several of our events in the city of Chino. Now, her grandfather, Kurt Powell, worked for the city for many, many, many years and retired, gosh, I think it was about a year ago. So we've all known Presley for a long time, since she was probably about 13. She's 17 now. So be sure to watch The Voice and be sure to vote for Presley. And that's all I have. That's enough, huh?
Well,
I know. It was a busy week like always. Okay. Oh, gosh, get back to my page. Mayor Pro Tem Hallie.
thank you, Mayor, but I don't know when you have time to feed your horses. I mean, attending all those
Well,
events.
They're a little pushy, so you have to fit that in.
They gotta get fed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so the last couple of weeks have been busy for me also. I attended the Chino Basin Desalter Authority meeting a couple weeks ago. Also a Water Facilities Authority technical meeting, and also the Chino National Little League, where I was lucky enough to throw out the first pitch. And I told everybody I wasn't going to bounce that first pitch when my arm was hurting. And I threw it, and it hit right in front of the plate. But at least the catcher caught it, didn't go to the backstop, so it wasn't.
Can we show the
that embarrassing.
video?
Huh?
Can we show the video?
No video, no.
But it was Karen's fault, right?
Yeah, it's somebody's fault, yeah. So I was painting too much, yeah. So, anyway, actually, so last week, Public Works Director, Mr. Jucker, and myself flew to Washington, D.C. to attempt to get some funding and to also make them aware of a number of our projects that need our help. And our federal advocate set up some very good meetings. Let me just go over a couple of those meetings that we had. We met with, and there's really two major projects. The one, of course, is the 71 freeway off-ramp at Pine Avenue. As you know, that off-ramp only goes into Chino Hills, doesn't go into Chino. So we're trying to get the funding to finish that Pine Avenue off-ramp and bring it down to Pine Avenue and through our city for a number of reasons. It's much needed for emergency purposes, for emergency vehicles, and just for general traffic as the area continues to grow. So we've been attempting this for so many years, trying to get the engineering done and to try to get the funding. Well, when you try to go get funding without being almost ready to construct it, it's very difficult to get the funding because you need to get the product shelf ready, as they say. So we had an important meeting with the Army Corps of Engineers, and we've met with the Army Corps here in Los Angeles, but we met with one of their top officials back in Washington, and we explained where we are with the project and as we're getting closer. So we are now, hopefully, if we can get Army Corps' approval on our project in the next couple of months, we could be done with design in the next year or so, which would get us to a position where we could be almost ready within 2 years to actually go out to bid, and that would help us with funding. So we did talk to Army Corps, and it wasn't so much about helping us get funding from them. It was about helping us get the approval from Army Corps. Because let me explain, that part of Prado area down there is in a flood zone, and the U.S. government has control of that. So the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers basically controls that, and we have to get an approval from them to construct an off-ramp and also to construct the road, to widen the road and make it more feasible. So we had a good meeting with them. The person we met there basically said, "Hey, whatever they can do to help us get through the local Army Corps, they're gonna help us." So that was a really good meeting that we had. We also went to see both our senators and both congressmen to get letters of approval because it's better when you do a project like that to get a lot of support, not only from other agencies but also from other officials. That always helps. From that standpoint. So we met with the Department of Transportation because there's a possibility for a build grant that we're going to be completing an application for that. There's about close to $1 billion in transportation funds that the government puts out. And so we're asking for a very small portion of that would help us with our match for those funds. So we're not quite ready for this year to put that in because the project's not close enough to go out to bid. But next year, assuming we get all this paperwork done, we will be in a better position for a grant. And then We also met with, speaking of water and wells, we have a well number 11, which are the contamination level in well number 11 that we have is getting higher. It's getting higher to a certain percentage, and it's going to need a lot more treatment. So we're trying to get some funding to build a treatment plant next to the well so that we can treat water, because that particular well during peak times is about 60% of our water pressure in the east side of our city. So that turns into quite a bit, quite an important well and quite an important project. So we're looking for some grant funding. We have our top people working on that now, so we'll be giving you an update on that. So it was some good meetings. I can't report that we got a lot of cash, but I can say that part of the process there is trying to get through the process to learn about what's the best way to do it, and to try to get those permits and to get that and to put it all together so it's a project ready to go. So, yep, so that's pretty much it. That concludes my comments.
Okay, it sounds like you had good meetings.
Yeah.
Councilman Orgrove.
Okay, so what I've attended since the last meeting, March 7th, I was invited to Howard Cattle Elementary School for their Read Across America, their second graders. About the time I showed up, the firefighters showed up and their big fire engine, and all the kids' attention went to them, and I just waited for them to come back after they watched their show. So, but, I snuck out and watched the show too, but, so it's, you can't
compete with
firefighters now and kids watching them. March 9th, you said, we went to the track meet, great event. Congratulations to the staff, the city staff that put that on. Seemed like it was well organized. We had to jump in the car and leave out of there quickly and get over to the National Little League. Tom made up for it with his pitching, and it was great. And then over to American. There's another great facilities over there at Yellow. That's the first time I've been there since they've improved those. So yeah. And then March 11th, I attended the Chino Cultural Foundation meeting. That's a terrific organization as well. They talk, and Nancy invited me over there to listen and talk about the arts, and I was glad to be invited there and listen to what they're proposing, and hoping that they have about $1.1 million they're looking to put into the community, and yeah, it's going to be something as soon as we can find a spot and all those good things. So, and then March 12th, I had a speaking engagement with Norma Torres' office, their Youth Accountability Commission. She has a great representation of her district from the youth, high schoolers basically. If any high schoolers out there, I think they should reach out and see if they can get on that board. It's just something that's really special. One of the things they talked about, a young man came from, Chino was there. He's attending West Point his first year right now. How to get into those academies. I think they say there's something like a $500,000 education that they give these kids for free. So, and again, once I arrived there to speak, a Pomona K-9 officer showed up with his bloodhound, and you can't compete with bloodhounds either. They all wanted to see a show, and they stuck a kid in the trash can, and the dog trailed him to where he was at, and then
They stuck him in a trash can?
well, they put his tie there underneath the bench where he was sitting, and then the dog trailed him to where he was hiding at, which I should say the trash can arena, that little area. But it's amazing, those dogs are just amazing. The statistics on them, and he was giving us how much they can smell, a million times greater than a human. And they said there's no scientific proof of it. They can't prove it, but the dogs do it every time. So it's amazing. So I enjoyed that just as much. And then March 14th, I met with Joe Schaefer, another school board trustee. Just had some conversation about community and what's going on, so I had a good time there. And then I headed over to the public safety salute put on by the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce. The first time I've been in attendance to it, although it's open for the public to attend if they'd like, if they want to pay the fee, I guess. But I just have never had the opportunity to go there. A fantastic award ceremony there, again for the fire, and Chino Hills, the sheriffs, and of course our staff chief. I certainly would hope that Vanessa Cuellar was the civilian of the year, and I had to write his name down. Fortino Amancio was the officer of the year for 2018. two terrific individuals, a great representation of our Chino Police Department, and I think the council would all say that we're proud and appreciative of all they've done for the community. With that being said, I'm certain that that's a reflection of the chief of police. I'm just going to keep wooing you as I can, maybe like until you actually decide to leave. Maybe you'll stick around and maybe put another year in if you can, and that'd be great. It's lonely out there in retirement. I can tell you for myself. Nobody, nobody to eat breakfast with, and all those good things. So just think about it. You don't have to answer right now. You just think about it. And then
She doesn't look real cooperative.
yeah, I know. Well, maybe. So we'll see
Try.
what happens. Yeah. And then later that evening, I attended the school board meeting. Actually, they've got some boundary change things going on. So that's always good to attend especially if you have kids. You never know. But then on March 15th, I met with representatives from the Lewis Group. We had a nice conversation, just kind of a general meet and greet with each other, who they are, and so I had a good time there for meeting with them. And then March 18th, what was that, a couple days ago, I guess, yesterday, I went to the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce, which I'm liaison for. Not much to report there, other than membership continues to go up, which is great to hear. Businesses, or I think Zeb, I don't know if Zeb left yet, but he's doing a great job, Zeb. I think he's terrific, just all the things that he's trying to implement and get businesses. So I appreciate all the work he's doing there to bring businesses to Chino and the Valley in general. And then March 19th, I had the opportunity to go this morning, Rancho del Chino Rotary. So Tom was there. I don't know, he was collecting money from everybody at the door. I don't know what that was about, but
Backup treasurer.
Backup treasury. So I had a great time there, thanks to Eric Hassanoff for his invitation, and I appreciate it. And then a presentation was given by IEUA there also about water. So water, I guess, is really important in Southern California, right? So I had a good time listening to that presentation. And then lastly, today I met with some reps from Assembly Member Freddie Rodriguez's office. His chief of staff used to be Ronald, used to be his district director, but now has been promoted to the chief of staff. So I had a nice little chat with them, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilmember Lucio.
Yes, on March 7th, I went with Mayor Pro Tem Howie and City Manager Matt Ballantyne over to the Preserve. We ended up having some office hours there to hear the community. They had come here at the previous meeting. They expressed their concerns about their roads and a number of other things. So we went there, we met with them, and meeting with them, we explained to them what we were doing as far as a city to fix their roads, and letting them know that we care, that we're not here to ignore their needs. Some of the things that they brought up was some of the speeding that goes on around the Preserve. So they wanted us to have a representative, and my understanding was we're going to have our traffic detail go out there in the next meeting, which is Thursday, and speak to them regarding the traffic or the speeding that's occurring around the area. On the 15th, I attended a meeting with Lewis Homes. I talked to the representatives from there. Our conversation covered the Preserve. And one of the things that was very, very, very positive that came out of that meeting was the fact that they've indicated that they're about ready to start looking at implementing or putting in a shopping center into that area. So one of the things that they said that they will have in the shopping center is the supermarket. So I know that that's a big concern for the people in the Preserve. So it was positive to hear that they're working towards that, and that they've met the threshold that they felt that they needed to have there before they could move forward with the shopping center. I also met with Linda Wright later that day, and we toured around different facilities to look for I would like to implement a wrestling program here in the city of Chino. I believe it's something that we can start our youth. It's not very expensive. I believe that by incorporating something and getting our youth at the elementary school ages and having them go through it in junior high, and then once they get into high school, I think it could really change the dynamics here in the city of Chino, and have a really good program here. Wrestling is one of those things. My son's been in it since he was 5 years old. It's one of those sports that teaches you a lot of life lessons. There's not a whole lot of people that wrestle that go undefeated. So you can be in a tournament, you can lose, and you'll see a kid break down and cry, and then have to get up and wrestle again, and then wrestle to victory. So it teaches you life lessons that no matter if you lose, you always get up and keep going. So I think that's something that's very valuable that we can teach our kids. So I think wrestling is a good program in that sense. It's also something that they can compete in high school and then also continue on into college. So it's something I'm passionate about. I've mentioned it to Linda. Linda's helping me to see if we can get something going here. I know that we used to have one back in the day, and it was pretty successful. And it's something that I think we can, with the whole mixed martial arts, I think wrestling is one of those events that will catch on in the city. It's got a large popularity that's taken over California. Right now it's predominantly in Central California that they seem to win everything. And they said it's because there's less things to do up in Central California than there is here in Southern California. But I think with the right people, the right coaches, and with the city involvement, I think we can make something very successful here within the city. Later on that day, I also met with representatives from Freddie Rodriguez's office. Basically, it was a meet and greet, just to let us know some of the things that they got going on. They talked about the expansion that's occurring on the 71 freeway, but predominantly the 71 freeway in Pomona. I brought up the 71 freeway towards the 91 freeway, but they said that's something that I would have to bring up with another state assemblyman because that's a different district. So they told me who I should contact, so I'm in the process of trying to reach out to them, see if they want to sit down and talk. On the 16th, I attended the Culturapalooza event with the mayor. It was a great event. It was the only thing was it was windy initially, but it wasn't raining. So the last couple of events I attended was raining, but it was a good turnout. As it got later, more and more people showed up. But it was definitely nice to see the different cultures that are here within Chino. We had people from the Chinese community and various other communities that had different shows that they put on that day. On the 18th, last night I attended the Community Service Commission meeting, and two of the main topics that were on the agenda was whether or not we should have a park at the beginning of our cities located on Central Avenue and Phillips Boulevard, and if we are to have a park there, what kind of park did we want? So there's going to be approximately 4 more workshops that are going to take place. So if you're interested in trying to mold what is going to happen here in the city of Chino, I suggest that you attend one of those workshops. Let us know what your feeling is what type of park we should have at the beginning of our city, so that we can look at, if we are going to build it, what we're going to build there. Another thing that we talked about, or that was discussed during that meeting, was they're looking at possibly obtaining a grant for the Monte Vista Recreation Center and expanding it and making it bigger. So some of the things that they wanted to talk about is if we expanded that center, what exactly did the community want in that center, and what would work, and what people would like to see. One of the things that I was told by one of the people in the community was that their suggestion was that we, and I don't know if we've done it or not. I went out there on the 15th. But they'd like to see us post some signs up at the park itself to say that we're looking at redoing this building. We're going to have some workshops coming up. If you're interested in that, come and be part of the discussion as to what we're going to implement. And then they also suggested that maybe we should put some signs that are also in Spanish, because it's a large Hispanic area in that part of town. And if they don't know what the sign says, they won't be able to have their input, and obviously their children attend the park. And that is the end of my report.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilman Rodriguez, you have item number 17. Let's handle that prior to your report.
Okay, Community Support Fund. There's a number of nonprofit organizations that I felt would need support. One of them would be, here they're listed here, the Portuguese nonprofit organization, the Basque, Isaiah's Rock, Chino Boxing Foundation, Chino Neighborhood House, Knights of Columbus at St. Margaret's, and also the Boy Scouts over here at Our Lady of Guadalupe. There's quite a number of organizations, nonprofits that do a really good job, and these are the ones that I selected. So I believe that they will continue to provide services for the people that need help within our city.
So
in
that's your motion?
That's my motion, yes.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, a second from Mayor Pro Tem. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howie?
Yes.
Councilmember Hargrove?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucio?
Yes.
Mayor Ulloa?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, now your report, Mr.
Okay.
Rodriguez.
March 7th, I attended the League of California conference dinner at Sierra Lakes in Fontana. The main focus was Alignment San Bernardino County, which focused on labor data information on the state of the workforce in the county of San Bernardino. It showed a dashboard that shows what's available for the various jobs throughout the county, white collar, blue collar, and also trades. And the main focus is to get and inspire youth to get involved with cities and also with the county with various jobs that are available for them. March 9th, I attended, and I attended the World Peace Conference in La Mirada. I was one of 4 that spoke at the conference, and the main focus was to have a declaration of cessation of war and peace and law, an international movement that is supported by the United Nations. Once I was there, I was able to give the speech, but I think what's important is there was probably over 700 to 800 youth there that are involved, plus other nonprofit interfaith organizations. The next interfaith organization that I attend meeting with the Chino, I will present this and hopefully get their support to get involved with this movement. It is the 3rd annual that took place on the West Coast. The international one will be in South Korea. So as I said, the main focus is to stop war and to promote peace throughout the world and also in communities for diversity and for unity, inclusion. Okay, March 10th through the 12th, I was invited by SCAG to attend the National Technology Conference in San Diego. It involved technology which really was very interesting, showing automation that is happening right now with traffic and cars, and also creating smart cities. It's amazing to think that they predict that within 10 years, there will be cars that are automated and driving themselves. Also, people will not be having cars sitting in their garages, but will be using more automation, which when you think about it will also help all the traffic and the problems that we have of congestion in cities, especially Chino. With drones and so forth, they gave demonstrations on drones that could be utilized for looking at traffic and also crime and safety throughout the city, and being able to pinpoint exactly where help is needed for the residents of Chino and also community. So it was very, very interesting. Many of the people I met are willing to come down to discuss anything with us, to give us an idea of what we can do with our technology and to really focus on what is happening now, not tomorrow, but happening now in the 21st century. So it's important, and it was a very, very interesting conference that I attended in San Diego. March 14th, I attended my first meeting with the Community Center Oversight Committee for the City of Chino and Chaffee Community College District. Before we attended the meeting, we had an Irish Bristow lunch, which was made. The lunch was produced by the culinary school there from Chaffee Community College. Very good. My wife is half Irish, so that makes my kids also Irish. So one of my favorite foods is corned beef and cabbage. But in fact, I had the last bit today. So they didn't have that day, but the food they had was very, very good. It was interesting to listen to the Oversight Committee in the sense that they reviewed all the facilities and parties and different events that they hold at the community center. And it's nearly full almost for even next year. There's various weddings that take place there, different events for dances or celebrations. So they're doing a very good job. and they're upgrading not only their building with new tile and painting, but also with auto equipment. So it's a very good facility that helps the city to celebrate various events that we hold. March 15th, this last Friday, I had the pleasure of attending the Chino Valley Rotary Dinner and Art Auction. It was very, very well attended, and there was just a number of tremendous paintings that were auctioned off, and of course the food was very good too. And I had a great time speaking to many people there, and I think it's a very good event to help Rotary to raise money for different nonprofit events and to give to people that in need. This Saturday too, I attended the Chino annual Palooza community event. It was not raining, so that was good. We're done with a little bit of the rain, except for maybe 20%, 30% they predict tonight. But it was a good event with various multicultural displays and events and a lot of food and booths, so it was well attended. Lastly, I would like the city to look into amending for future discussion, an amendment for selecting and creating a process and criteria for selecting planning commissioners that would be more objective and more inclusive for all. I believe that when we do something like that, we are being more democratic and also inclusive and being fair with everyone that applies for a position. So I would recommend that we look into that and that we discuss it later. I attended USC's public policy last month, and they gave me a number of cities that are already producing and having a sort of a schedule and design for selection of different members to be included in planning commissions and other committees. So I think I would like the city to look into that for future discussion, and I will even provide a number of probably 5 or 6 cities that surround us that have those already in place, and that would be maybe a start for human resource and the city to look into that for further discussion. It doesn't change really the code, because the mayor will always select and the council will select, but it gives a transparency of equity for everyone that applies for this position. So I would like to propose that.
Okay, there's a proposal before us. Is there any council discussion?
Is there any discussion? Yeah.
Okay, I have to tell you, I would oppose that.
Okay.
Anyone can apply for the Planning Commission or Community Services Commission, just as anybody can run for council as long as they meet the legal requirements of being a citizen and being age. There is no legal requirement or job description or requirements to apply for those positions, and I personally would not like to limit who is interested in applying for the Planning Commission or the Community Services Commission. We have had, let me finish, we have had a very, very successful Planning Commission with excellent members on them that represent all sorts of diversity through our community. So I personally see no need in changing it.
What I'm saying is to have a committee that's going to vet and to also have a criteria for a process to say, okay, this is what you meet. An evaluation, in other words, when the applicants apply, it's not closed to anyone. Anyone can apply. But I'm saying to look at the applications and to have an objective way of measuring, okay, now you move on to the next level, which would be the interviews. And that's what I'm saying. Many various communities surrounding us do have that. It does not prevent anyone from applying, but it also gives us an opportunity to be equitable for everyone, to see an application and to be more objective rather than subjective. And I think it would be good to show that in the community of Chino. So anyone can apply, any gender, anyone. And as a council, once that's done, then we select the 5 or that could move on to the next interview. Much in the same sense that the Senate of the U.S. Vets people that are wanting to be judges or in positions of government. Everyone can apply, but there's a process that we need to review.
Well, this process, I think, works very well. And comparing it to the selection of judges is a little bit much, over the top. Are there any council comments?
Well,
Mr. Howie?
Yeah, I just, I think we have a good process now, but I'm not opposed to you bringing something forward. We can always take a look at it. It doesn't hurt to look at it.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying,
We're not
to take a look
supporting
at
it. I wouldn't mind taking a look at it. That's fine.
That's all I'm saying is to take a look at it and see whether it's going to be appropriate for the city of Chino.
And how much time would this take from the city staff?
Well, it depends. I haven't spoken to Matt, but we can look at it. And as I mentioned, there are a number of cities that already do this according to USC public policy program. And we could start from there. I could give the names as a start for us to look at within the city.
I would say a couple things, if I may, Madam Mayor. Generally, a council member can request an item come back for consideration at a future agenda unless there isn't majority support to bring it back. So the council can decide if they want to oppose this. The other opportunity would be if there's a sample ordinance or maybe a few sample ordinances that can be provided as a discussion item. You could do that, or you could take it to a draft ordinance that I would help prepare and try to achieve similarities to other sample ordinances that Councilmember Rodriguez may have in mind. But again, before it gets there, there has to be support by the council to even hear this. If there's objection to bringing it back, then obviously the item doesn't proceed.
Okay, Mr. Hargrove.
Well, I guess I'm a little confused on what it is we're directing staff to do, so I'd like to maybe, are they just going out there? I've done some of this research myself, looking at it. In this immediate area, it's about split. Half the cities do it the way we're doing it, exactly the way we're doing it. The mayor selects them, really doesn't even provide for much input from the council other than they get to look at the applications, the mayor selects them, and then they vote on it. I certainly am very appreciative of this mayor's giving us the opportunity to not only review those applications, but to be involved in the process. I think you've kind of opened up a Pandora's box by being so cooperative and open to allow us to get into that. But I do appreciate it. The other individuals or other cities that I've looked at, each council member selects their own. They get applications in some instances, and again, it's concurrent with the approval of the council. However, watching even a lot of videos that I've watched on that, it just seems to be a formality, a process of they just go ahead and nod yes because it's who the council person selected. So I just don't, for me, I just want to make sure the staff is clear if we're asking them to look at what exactly are they looking for. I don't want staff to be trying to compile something that they don't know. What cities, where cities, I'm sure you can expand that interest throughout LA County, and everyone does it differently. My last comments are that previously being a part of the Planning Commission, which I think Mayor Pro Tem Howie was, and I think even Mayor Yola was part of. I didn't mind the way the process was, even for myself applying. You had the opportunity to apply. I think the interview process was fair, whether selected or not. My knowledge about what we did with the last selection was an exhaustive effort in terms of going through a lot of criteria, and maybe that's what Councilman Rodriguez is speaking about. Well, what was that criteria? However, I don't know whether you can define it to say that it's exactly this. If we start looking at this is the exact criteria of what we're looking at and we're going to put that in place, I'm not sure that would not defeat the purpose of having a greater general public input and interest in that, because they would know immediately, well, if this is what you're looking for, I'm not qualified for that. So you can't create a criteria and then say, well, it's open to everybody, because no, it's not. It's based upon that criteria that you've created. So quite honestly, I like the system the way it is now. I'm not in support of staff time to go out and reach out. I think maybe at some time down the future, if we have another vacancy, maybe something we can look at, but I'm not certain when that'll be. So yeah, that's my comments.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I have a different
Mayor?
view in this sense. I believe I already said that there are cities surrounding us that do have criteria to select individuals that will be vetted to be proper on a planning commission. It has nothing to do with eliminating everyone, but it's the idea to have a criteria. My experience as a state examiner for
Madam
Ball
Mayor.
Ridge Excellence, I've done that.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think the discussion's gone on a little bit long, and since it's not on the agenda, I would suggest we limit our discussion and to just whether or not you'd like to see this come back on the agenda.
Well, I think, one more comment, I think right now it's irrelevant. We have a full planning commission. We don't have any upcoming vacancies. Staff's time right now is very critical. We have very important items coming up with us, with workshops on how to determine the sphere of influence, the downtown master plan, many, many things. I personally do not wish to have staff spend their time on something that isn't even relative to right now. Perhaps this can be considered if we have a vacancy in the future, but my personal opinion is no. Other council opinions?
For me, I think it's something we could visit, obviously, if another vacancy comes up. I'm not sure if we should set a set criteria, but picking, like some cities do pick their own commission members, I would look at that. But I think looking at a specific criteria, I think that's going to eliminate a lot of people or intimidate a lot of people that would apply for it.
One other thing
I'm sorry. I don't see majority support, so I think we'll table this issue to possibly another time.
And just for reference point, for a general law city, which Chino is, with a directly elected mayor, the mayor has to make the appointments with the concurrence of the city council. So that process of selecting commissioners can't change. Now, you can certainly have criteria, procedures, et cetera, but just wanted to make that reference point per the government code. The mayor has to make the actual appointments. So that part can't change.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, city manager's report.
Yes, thanks, Mayor, and members of the council. Just as a reminder, we're hosting office hours in the Preserve this Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. at our community center out there. Nick Lagori, our Development Services Director, Chris Magdasku, sorry. Our city engineer will also be present, as well as Ted Olden, our traffic sergeant. So certainly if any folks have questions, we had a good turnout as Councilmember Lucio and Mayor Pro Tem Howie attended and assisted with the discussion. It was a productive discussion, so thanks for those that came out. Bickmore, as many of you know, we had a huge sinkhole during the storms that came through the city, and there were issues as it relates to compaction associated with the KB Homes development to the north. We've done a lot of soils testing. They will be starting to work on that project this Thursday. It's expected to take 3 to 4 weeks. Essentially what they're going to have to do is dig down roughly 18 to 20 feet, about 1,100 feet long, and replace or repair the sewer and then replace all that soil and make sure that it's compacted correctly. So the work will begin this Thursday, and we'll post that for the public. Last thing, and we kind of alluded to, we have a workshop coming up. We're trying to schedule, we have a tentative date for May 3rd. We are getting a lot of interest in, we've gotten interest from nonprofits and other organizations that are wanting to possibly utilize the courthouse building that's currently vacant. Specifically, I know the Cultural Arts Foundation has expressed some interest. But prior to doing that, I'd recommend that we go through the master plan process, including the council workshop on May 3rd to further discuss what do we want to do with the facilities in the Civic Center campus in its entirety before we start leasing out potential spaces within the Civic Center. With that, it concludes my report.
Okay, I would like to suggest, so that we don't violate the Brown Act, with the preserve office hours, I think I'm requesting council members to contact Matt if you're interested in returning or in attending those meetings so that we don't have 3 people there and a possible violation of Brown Act.
That's a great suggestion. And then in addition, I know that the school district's hosting several meetings that kind of conflict with those office hours, but we're going to continue to have those office hours, and if people see the need to move that date, we'll certainly entertain it, but for now it's Thursday evenings. Again, the first and third Thursday, we'll always host office hours from 6 to 8 p.m.
Okay, very good, thank you. Fred, any city attorney's report?
None today. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, and Chief of Police, Karen Kleinstock.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. There's a lot of great things happening at the Chino Police Department, as you saw tonight. I want to thank you for your support of the construction of the Real-Time Crime Center. You have a fabulous police department. It's comprised of amazing people. Thank you, Councilman Hargrove, and all of you for your support and for your attendance at so many things that we do all year long. But also, sometimes things go wrong at the police department, and it's my obligation tonight to acknowledge the arrest of Sergeant Jason Babowski on March 7th. I'm sure a lot of you either read it on our social media or our local papers about his arrest by the cities, by a collaborative investigation by the cities of Roseville PD and the Redlands Police Department for investigation of solicitation of prostitution and unlawful sexual intercourse with a minor. I want to assure the public that we believe that Sergeant Babowski's conduct occurred in an off-duty capacity and not during his on-duty capacity as a police officer, and that his internal investigation now administratively will receive the scrutiny and review that it so deserves, that this case will be handled criminally by the Roseville and the Redlands Police Department. His internal investigation will be handled by members of the Chino Police Department. I would just like to ask the members of the public to please not let the acts of this one person define the professionalism and the ethics and the performance of the Chino Police Department. It is comprised of just great people, and I hope that we can maintain the community's trust and confidence moving forward from this point forward. And I assure you as the Chief of Police that these allegations are quite serious, and should Sergeant Babowski be found accountable for these actions, I will responsible for these actions, I will hold him accountable. That being said, I'd like to move on to a little bit better piece of news from your police department today. On February 12th, as most of you know, we had a very serious robbery at the In-Cycle Bicycle Shop there at the Mountain and 60s Shopping Center, wherein 3 suspects went in and they stole a very expensive bicycle, and they took it out to the parking lot and stuck it in the back of a truck. And a young employee tried to intervene in that robbery, and while doing so, she was quite seriously injured as the suspects fled the scene, and she was actually run over by the suspects as they fled. Well, I'm pleased to announce today that as a result of the hard work of our criminal investigators and a very, very complex search warrant operation, that we have arrested 3 suspects we believe are responsible for these crimes. And they are Ronald Wolf, age 20, of Fraser Park, Kyle Stewart, age 27, of Taft, and Nicole Stewart, age 23, of Taft, California. During the search warrant operation, we were able to recover not just evidence and clothing that's implicated them to this crime, but as well as the vehicle that we believe they use. And I'm just very, very pleased. This was a difficult investigation to bring together. It was a very, very complex search warrant operation involving different proprietary cell phone searches and different things, and it's just produced remarkable results for us. And we were so proud to contact that young lady today and inform her of the rest of these offenders. It took us all the way up to the Bakersfield area, and I couldn't be prouder of the work of those detectives to bring justice to her and, and hold these suspects accountable for such a violent crime. They've been booked at the West Valley Detention Facility, and I'm pleased to report that she is out of the hospital and recovering from her injuries. And I'd just like to report to the public as well, if one of these incidents is happening, don't put your own life at risk by trying to intervene over a bicycle. I mean, I know at the moment she was, thought that she could, when she tried to intervene, that probably these suspects would stop and just surrender and turn the bike back over. But none of these objects or anything of that nature is worth you getting so seriously hurt. This young lady is very, very fortunate she wasn't killed, during the commission of this robbery. But that's great news, about that. And then last but certainly not least, hundreds of police officers will be competing this weekend in the annual Baker to Vegas Challenge Relay, coming out of the old road out of Baker and going into Vegas. And there will be lots of us out there running, including Team Chino. And since we reinstated our team, I've been running. Councilman Lucille likes to talk about me running the glam leg, which it is, the last leg, which is commonly referred to as the Chief's leg. But please cheer us on as we go out there and try and mug for our 3rd year in a row. The team is prepared. It's been a little bit harder to train this year in the rain because anybody that runs knows that running on a treadmill is different than running on the road. But we've all managed to get our training in, and we're looking forward going out there this weekend and getting our mugs.
So you're going to do it again?
One more year. Yes.
Well,
What'd you say?
Yes.
One more year.
Yeah, one more. Yeah. Yep.
One more year after this.
One more time.
But Karen, I really want to thank you for bringing forward a very difficult situation. It's a tragedy. There's no two ways about it. But not unlike all of us with families that have a member that has an issue or an organization or whatever, one person's action hopefully will not reflect on the rest of the officers. You have an excellent department. I'm very proud of the investigators. You always solve the crime, always. There have been, over the years, so many difficult situations, and your employees are dedicated, and they just won't give up until they get those bad guys. So congratulations on that again. And were you listening to Mark about possibly reconsidering?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Smiling.
She's smiling.
I just would like to say that those suspects' mistake on this day seriously was coming to Chino to commit this crime.
Yep.
Our detectives are functioning along with members of our special enforcement team and with the support of the crime analyst, which is part of the platforms that you just voted on this evening in order to make us more successful moving forward, both from a real-time analysis with open data information, keeping our police officers safer. All these technology platforms that we're using today are helping us to solve these crimes. And when our detectives get that one break that they need, boy, we're getting some fabulous and some remarkable results.
You
So,
always do.
Thank you, Mayor.
But I also want to thank you for being transparent.
Thank you, Mayor.
Because a lot of times people will take uncomfortable situations and try to bury them or ignore them. And you've never been like that. You've always been upfront about reality, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other comments for the chief? Okay, thank you, Karen. Who's here for the fire chief? Aha. Tim Shackelford's not coming, is he?
No, it's me tonight. So rotation, we get the opportunity to come and sit and be part of the experience with the council. So Mayor Aloha and council members, thank you for having me tonight. Just a couple things. First of all, I wanted to remind everybody about we had a time change, so always very valuable to check smoke detectors. You know that 1/3 of fire deaths that occur in the home are a result with no smoke detector, no working smoke detector, and you can decrease by half your chance of dying in a fire with a working smoke detector. So good reminder to check that and make sure that they're working properly at the time change. Also wanted to let you know on March 11th, the Chino Valley Fire District changed dispatch services. We were with Ontario Dispatch for many years, and due to some of the items that we found that would be a better fit for our organization with the long term, we have now contracted with Confire Communications out of Rialto, and they are now providing dispatch services for the fire district. That's all I have, unless
Okay.
I can answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you very much for
Thank
the
you.
update. Okay, we will be recessing back into closed session again, and I'll ask for a report out of closed session.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council and audience. The city council met in closed session and concluded its discussions on the only item on the closed session agenda, namely conference with labor negotiators concerning the various employee associations I had previously reported on. City council received an update on those negotiations, provided direction, and no further reportable action was taken. That concludes the report.
Thank you very much, Fred. And with that, we will adjourn our meeting to our regular meeting that will be held on Tuesday, April 2nd at 7:00 p.m., closed session at 6:00 if necessary. With that, we are adjourned.